Hi, just for everybody who's online, we just had a meeting and people are just taking a quick break before we get started. Thank you. Okay, everybody, we're going to go ahead and get started. If we can all please rise for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Mr. Kimball.
Yeah.
Hi, welcome everybody. I'm getting the meeting started tonight just because we have election of officers after the last town election. So we're going to start with an approval of an agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda as written?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to go into election of officers. We have a procedure for the board reorganization to elect officers. We are going to start by any member of the board who is interested in being the board chair. We'll have about 2 minutes to say their interest in being the board chair. These interest statements are expected to focus on your assets that you will bring to the board, what you're going to bring to the district, and what you hope to accomplish as board chair. We do want to keep this, I will be kind of a timekeeper, but not really strict about it. So is there anybody who is interested in making a statement with an interest to be board chair?
Sure, I'm interested.
Okay, Mr. Moore. And hold on, let me get the clock going. All right, you're on.
I'm interested in, because I have a passion to help the students in this district. I really have focused, since my retirement of work, has focused most of my life here on trying to get, the best we can for the school district, and trying to focus in on the needs of all the students. I think that's been my primary reason for being on the board as being chair. I also think that I would like to bring the Memorial School construction to a really good completion, looking at the cost and the complexity of that process. It's very important to spend a lot of time on that, and I'm committed to working on that timeframe. And I've enjoyed working with all the faculty and all the staff, and really appreciated their efforts to support the board and support the district, and really am interested in continuing that effort as long as I can. I've got 2 minutes.
It is 49 seconds to spare. Is there anyone else who is interested in being board chair?
I will make a statement. I am interested in being board chair. Is the clock going?
It's going.
Sorry, I just want to make sure. I want to jump the gun. You know, and I think for me is probably very similar reasons. You know, about, 12 and a half years ago, some of you may have heard the story. I shifted my career. I had worked for very big corporations previously, and I had twin girls, and my one daughter, Mackenzie, was diagnosed with a rare genetic disorder. And I think that's when I got my first taste for advocacy. And so for the past 12, almost 13 years, I've dedicated not only my personal life, but my professional career to servicing our communities. And it's something that I am incredibly passionate about. I think for me, having 4 daughters, school-age children, 3 of which are in RSD 13, 1 is in an outplaced ACES school, and living and breathing with them every day and seeing kind of, oh my gosh, I love this book that Mrs. McKay is, teaching us. And, like my little one, kind of, really like, she's a little bit of a pull in a train of shop, but, really kind of, growing like with softball and, being at basketball games and all this stuff. And like, just seeing like how our community can come together. I really want that for this board. And I really feel like we're at that crossroads here, and there's a tremendous amount of work to be done. And I would love to be chair to be able to support not only our students and our staff, but I think most importantly, our new superintendent and the central office staff and our administration. Because oh no, was that my timer?
It is.
Oh, okay, then I'll just stop. I don't want to go over.
Is there anyone else who would like to make a statement about being board chair?
Are you sure?
So the way that this works is that we will call for a nomination. If that nomination gets a second, everybody will do a ballot vote. You have ballots in front of you. So your name is on the ballot, and when that nomination comes up, you will write your yes or no, or your yay or nay, and hand them in. And then I'm going to tally them and read the name and who voted for and board chair. If that happens and we have a new board chair, then that's the end of it. If that vote fails, or if there's a tie, we have different procedures to go from there. Okay. So the next thing that I need to do is I need to call for a nomination for Regional School District 13 board chair.
I would like to nominate Bob Moore for board chair.
Is there a second?
No second.
Any discussion?
I would like to say that this decision isn't about personalities. It's about capacity and continuity at a critical moment in this district. We are in the middle of a $76 million construction and consolidation effort, and we simply cannot afford a learning curve or gaps in availability in the chair position. We also made a commitment to O&G and QA&M that the board chair would be available for daytime meetings, urgent construction issues, and the pre-review of DAS documents. Those approvals and signatures often cannot wait until evenings. The chair must be able to respond immediately and be physically present when necessary. Bob is the only member who can realistically meet that level of daytime availability. He attends many district events, sports games, all board meetings and committee meetings, and contract negotiations. He is present whenever invited and has strong working relationships with our staff and administration. I also know that Bob will work to connect our new members with the existing board in a nonpartisan, collaborative way and continue working with administration to engage the community on concerns. For these reasons, I believe we need a chair who already has the institutional history, the availability, and the established working connections to continue moving the board forward. It's not about what individual members want, but truly about what the district needs. That's why I'm nominating and supporting Bob Moore for Chair of Regional District 13 Board of Ed.
Any other discussion? Okay, please take your ballots out. The motion on the table is to nominate Bob Moore as Regional School District 13 Board Chair. You will write yes, no, or aye, or nay on your ballot and hand it up to me, please. Jason Stone is online. He is going to text his response to me and Kim Newbig, and I will take a screenshot of that just for the record. Is it up?
Loud, I don't know if it's allowed. I'm allowed to touch it.
They're not secret. They can't have a secret ballot, so. Okay, I will just read these. I'll tell everybody right now we have a tie. So I'll just for the record, read the votes for the tie. For yeses for Bob Moore, we have a yes from Linda Darcy, Jamie Rohrback, Lucy Petrella, Bob Moore, and Jason Stone. And then we have nays from Mark Simmons, Maura Caramanello, Stephen Del Vecchio, Christine Cowan, and Nick Constantino. So the way our procedures read is that after a tie, we agreed to take a short recess. I do want to, we had originally said the procedures would be a 10-minute recess. I'm going to make that, since I'm chair, actually, now I get to decide something. I'm going to change that to 5 minutes before we take another vote because we have students here who are waiting to do a presentation, students and families. So we're just going to take a brief recess for the meeting. Unless there are any objections for 5 minutes, we're going to come back and do another vote. Sorry.
Do we need to have a nomination for Christine?
It's a tie. So we said after a tie, we're just gonna do a vote, a recess.
And then when we come back, we do another
There should be
nomination.
another nomination. Yeah, okay. Yeah, 5 minutes.
Yeah.
I'll set the timer for that one too, everybody. Don't worry.
You got the gavel too.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, sure, bring the gavel. I didn't get to use it for my committee meeting. I'll have it next second. I, right, exactly. Hardly the epic experience I was hoping for.
Okay, we are going to end our recess a little bit early because all the board members are back. So coming back in from recess, I'm going to call for a nomination for a Regional School District 13 Board Chair.
Yes, I would like to nominate Christine.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion?
Yes, I would like to say a few words. First off, even more important than in my decision to nominate Christine, even more important than her work ethic and professionalism that I've seen in the short amount of time we've known each other is what I think is the most important, and that is our constituents. The residents I have spoken to and the residents who have come out in droves here have really been passionate about a change in leadership and a change of overall direction for the district and those who lead it. I believe that at the end of the day, those are the people who have put us in these positions, and not to listen to them would, that would be the wrong thing to do. And besides that point, I would also quickly like to touch on the availability of the nomination. I believe in today's day and age, with the technology we have available, being present for one or any amount of meetings, sporting events, anything, the technology we have will allow someone like Christine, who has a busy life, to be there. So I can go on for days, honestly, but those are the two huge reasons I would like to nominate her.
Any other discussion? Okay, take your ballots out, please. The motion that is on the table is a nomination for Christine Cowan as Regional School District 13 Board Chair. Put your yay or nay, and then yes or no. Okay, we have a tie. Okay, so and just to make sure that everything is transparent and public, I'll read the names again. We have yays from Stephen Del Vecchio, Mark Simmons, Maura Caramanello, Christine Cowan, and Nick Constantino. And we have no's from James Rohrbach, Lucy Petrella, Linda Darcy, Bob Moore, and Jason Stone. So what happens at this stage when we have two ties is we're going to, this is literally the way the law is, we're going to a coin toss. Okay. I actually brought one just in case this came up. I'm actually going to toss the coin over there in front of our attorney. So he's reading the head of tails for us. One thing that we didn't discuss ahead of time is who gets to call heads or tails, but I think, Bob, if you've been the board chair, maybe you would defer to Christine to call the heads or tails.
I was gonna say, because you were nominated first,
Because what?
since he was nominated
Oh,
first, I
oh.
thought, he would want to call it.
Christine, you're gonna call it in the air. We'll do it official. All right,
Okay.
ready? It's going up. You ready, Peter? This is Pete Marr, our attorney. Okay. All right.
There's
Thank
a
you.
head, there's a head
And
and a tail on that, right?
Yeah. And I'll please.
you can check it if you like. All right, Christine, ready?
Okay. Heads.
Pete?
Find it.
It's.
That's tails.
There's yours.
Okay. All right. That is. Chair, California Board Chair.
Oh, I didn't even hear you. Trails. Thank you.
Thank you,
Christine.
Christine. Thank you.
I would like to add that we're blessed to have people to volunteer for that greatly
Yes.
because it's not a sustainable thing. I hope we can all get inspired to do it and get more people involved because it's huge. We know as a fact that people are going to come out when there's issues arising, and we just hope it's not only that. It's an ongoing process. Requires everybody to make it better. It takes a village, as I said, for sure.
And I also think that this board is ready to take the opportunity. Even though a tie vote for board chair, I think the board's really ready to take the opportunity to get back to focusing on district and kid work. I mean, that was apparent in both of your statements, so I think that's greatly appreciated. All right, Bob, you get to do the rest of the officers and my work is done.
Do you have any nominations for vice chair?
I'd like to nominate Linda Darcy.
Versus.
Is, sorry.
No, I mean, I will do it if nobody else has any inkling of doing it. I don't particularly want to do it, but it hasn't been that bad. So I say that both for me and if anyone else wants to do it. It's really not that intense.
Anybody else wants to do it? If not, I have a motion for, and a second for Linda Darcy as vice chair.
I'll second.
What's this?
Any comments?
Absolutely none. I think I just said my piece.
Linda brings balance to the board to have a chair, vice chair from Middlefield as well. And I think it's important that we have representatives from both towns, so. All those in favor of Linda Darcy as vice chair, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We have also the position of secretary. And
Nominate Nick Constantino for secretary.
we have a second.
I'll second.
Anybody else?
I'd like to nominate Lucy Petrella for board secretary.
I think we can really only have one official nominee.
Okay.
Yeah, well, tonight.
So defer that for another minute.
All right. Luke, you want to say anything?
Yeah, I know I'm new, but the role of the secretary is to keep things organized, keep things on track. Contrary to what my hair looks like, I'm pretty good. Really? Good.
Have other colors in your hair.
But I'm pretty good at keeping things on track and, since being elected, I've been really diving into the Roberts rules. Kind of the beating heart of what makes the meetings go. And they're really, I don't want to say interesting, but it's good to see that there's that structure and I'd just be honored to be able to take part in helping the district run.
So now we have a ballot again for Nick.
I think we can do a voice vote from this point.
That's what the board's.
Yeah.
I hear you.
We can do a voice vote at this point,
You have a voice vote?
unless there are any objections, right? Mr. Chair.
All those in favor, start with Maura.
Yes, for Nick.
Mark?
Yes.
Yes.
No.
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 Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Jason?
Jason?
Yes.
Yes. All right, congratulations. And for treasurer? And we have a nomination for anybody for treasurer.
I'd like to nominate Christine.
Thank you. Finance committee. Well organized and back on track.
Get the name on all the checks.
Did it once before.
Any other nomination? And the second for Christine?
Oh, sure. I'll second.
I was second,
Second it.
yeah, I don't know, do you want it? Yeah, I don't know if I should second it or not.
But you can decline.
Yeah, you can, yeah.
Any other comments?
That's fine.
All in favor of Christine going for treasurer, please say aye.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, Laura, sorry.
Yes, if she wants it.
Or, yes, Christine.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
Jason?
Congratulations.
Yes.
Yeah, unanimous.
Thank you, Jason.
Okay, let's bring those kids in here.
All right.
Can we use their points for something? Just, you know.
Good evening, everyone.
Hi.
This is fun. First off, thank you for having us. Congratulations to everybody who just got newly appointed. So this is Strong Middle School. You probably don't want to hear me talk. You really want to hear what they've got to say. So I'm going to pass this off to our most capable eighth graders, Peyton and Nathan. You guys can take the lead.
Hi, everybody. My name is Payne Dubak, and I'm in eighth grade at Strong Middle School. And one thing that I'm going to go over today is one thing that the fifth graders are doing. So one thing that they are all doing together is reading a book, and it is called Esperanza Rising, and they are all writing essays about characters. So their favorite characters, they're all writing essays about it. Hi, I'm Nate. I'm an eighth grader at Strong. Something that the sixth graders are doing, is something they're learning about maps and map making and about geography. And they did a project where they made a map, guiding them from Strong School back to their house.
Hi, I'm Carolyn and I'm in eighth grade and I'm a Spartan leader at Strong Middle School. Hi, I'm Kiki Edinger and I'm also a Spartan leader at Strong School. And for Spartan leaders, we represent the school and how we're supposed to be good role models. So we have to set good examples for not only sixth graders, but now fifth graders. We have eighth graders going into fifth grade classrooms to make sure that they feel comfortable. We go into classrooms about once a month and we play games like Would You Rather and we do crafts. For example, we did hand turkeys for Thanksgiving. The seventh graders right now, they're researching about ancient civilizations and they also talked about like different rulers. So you have like Confucius and like Taoism and stuff like that. So yeah, and we're super.
Bring my crew over. Hi, everybody. Oh, I have stuff for you. We all like to take away, right? So my crew over here, we're going to talk about the elective at Strong School that I teach, which is campus beautification. So kind of how we bring community together and core ethical values and all that stuff through service projects within the school. So I will let them start.
Hi, my name is Callie, and I'm an eighth grader at Strong School in Campus Beautification, and I helped create a sensory walk and cotton wall for the fifth graders. This project taught me responsibility and kindness. We had to think about how our work would help others, not just how it looked. Watching younger students use a sensory walk showed me how important it is to create spaces where people feel calm and safe. This class helped me grow as a leader and show me how small acts of care can improve our school community.
A little sample of something they did with fifth graders for the wall.
Hi, my name is Reese, and I'm an eighth grader who took campus beautification. This class taught me that teamwork is more than just working next to people. It's learning how to work with people. In our project, everyone has different ideas, skills, and opinions. We had to learn to respect by listening to each other, even when we didn't always agree. It took courage to speak up, share ideas, and trust our classmates would support us. Campus beautification showed me that collaboration means helping each other so we can help our school. We didn't just create art, we created something meaningful for our community. This class helped me grow as a teammate, a leader, and a person. Hi, my name is Fiona, and I am a seventh grader who took campus beautification. One of my favorite parts of the class was creating wall art and around the school to make it feel brighter and more welcoming for everyone who walks through the doors. Campus beautification showed me that art can change how people feel about a space and about themselves. This class helped improve the climate of our school and showed me how being creative can help build a better community. Hi, my name is Grace, and I'm a seventh grader who took campus beautification. In this class, we made teachers gifts like door signs, giving bowls, and photo holders, and hug monsters for the fifth graders. This class taught me kindness and gratitude. Giving these gifts helped me understand how important it is to make others feel appreciated and supported.
Good job. Thanks for having us.
One last thing, just want to thank the parents for taking time out of your evening to bring these wonderful kids here to show what we have. While it's only a small sliver of Strong, I think we can say with full confidence, a majority of our students are like this. And they always don't get the opportunity to do this. So this is really great. And we really appreciate you giving us the opportunity to kind of show you what's going on in our school. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
you.
There must be some questions.
Oh, yeah. Well, first, I love the center of all and walk because I love that this means that you're gonna have kids hopping. Because I can't stand going into schools where they just have to walk with their little hands folded and everything. So it allows joy. And so I love that. But
I will
would like-
admit that today I was hopping along that.
Yeah, excellent. I will too, next time I'm in the building. But I do want to ask, how did you choose? Like, I love all of them, the tracing and then the high fiving. How did you choose the activities you're gonna put on the walk and the wall?
The internet, you know, I
That's
actually
fair.
saw another school that did it.
Yeah,
I was like, this is a great idea.
Yeah,
And then
love it.
I don't know really how to use the Cricut very well, and I put my two Cricut
yeah.
people, they did it all on their own, because I don't even know how to plug the thing in.
Awesome, thank you.
Oh, yeah, yeah. And then the picture on there is like the walking. So.
Yeah.
And the guidance counselors, the door is right, one of our guidance counselors, or speech pathologists is right outside of the door it's right outside of her room. And she just constantly is hearing kids like do it. So.
Yep, that's awesome.
Yeah, every time.
There's like a hopscotch and there's like a little spinny thing. It's so fun.
I did notice the spin. I was like, that's great.
How are you guys doing with those fifth graders taking space in your building?
They're good.
Are they good?
Yeah.
Are you taking care of them?
Yeah, it's also fun doing activities with them. They
It
can
is.
feel better.
So it's nice to have the younger kids to teach
Yeah.
and mentor. All of you?
Yeah.
And they do it a lot because I have quite a few in my advisory and they get pulled out of my advisory a lot. I'm always like, where's Peyton? Where's Jackson? Where's, people? Because they're like, oh, they're up in the fifth grade doing an activity. So they have been doing a lot.
I'm glad that you welcome them and are helping them. It was a big concern for parents, but I'm glad that the students are taking care of that issue.
Yeah, we've made them a tic-tac-toe board for the hallway. We made them a boggle wall.
That's great.
So they're like doing like that because for indoor recess, we were like, what do they need? And I asked some of the teachers and they came with that type of stuff. So, yeah.
For Mark and Vic, Amy is the master art teacher.
Yeah, thank you.
And is also a tennis coach and is really one of the stars of our school. You right, kids?
Yeah, I paid them all.
Nice.
So they have to say that.
Not to mention the restorative practice leader as well, 'cause I knew you from
A long time.
years ago about that.
Yeah.
He taught all 90 faculty at a high school in Hartford of how to relate to children and high school age kids and to develop relationships and to not be punitive right away. They're bad. Once you get a target, kids don't get any better.
And thank you, Dave, for being here for your first 3 months, 4 months. And
Yeah.
but you seem to enjoy it, so that's great.
This has been great. I stepped into a wonderful community. I've got exceptional kids and I got a stellar staff, so I really can't ask for much more.
Where's your other sport?
Hiding back there.
You're not gonna say anything?
No, I think they did a great job.
All right.
Yeah, and they just bring joy every day to the school community, really. There's nothing better than, like the Spartan leaders helping out. They helped out with the Halloween parade. Campus beautification just makes every day brighter. Like I came in, there was a little desk plate on my desk. Another day I got a little candy corn. Like just these little things that kind of help to brighten everybody's day and share a little positivity for us. We're very lucky.
Thank you very much. We look forward to coming up to the high school next year too. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is educator diversity plan.
Thank you, Rob. So I did want to take a couple minutes just to update the Board of Education on our increasing educator diversity plan. To give folks a little bit of a historical perspective, in October of 2023, the Connecticut legislature mandated that public and regional school boards of education create an increasing educator diversity plan. And the directive was to submit that plan to the Connecticut State Department of Education for a review and approval. So during the 23-24 school year, myself and a committee of administrators and teachers met quite frequently and worked to develop the plan based on data and based on goals that we felt were relevant to increase the percentage of educators from diverse backgrounds in the district. And basically, the plan is divided into three sections. It's divided into recruitment. How do we recruit educators from diverse backgrounds? Hiring and selection. How do we make the hiring and selection process more equitable? And lastly, retention. How do we keep educators of color or from diverse backgrounds here in the district when demographically the percentages of minority students are relatively small? So those are the three major components of the increasing educator diversity plan. As a district and as a committee, we feel that this plan should be dynamic. It should be updated every year based on changes in staffing, based on conditions as far as hiring staff, and based on factors involving the district and changes that a district goes through on a periodic basis. And basically, we've established a goal that we'd like to increase the percentage of educators from diverse racial, ethnic, and cultural backgrounds in Regional School District 13 to 5% by the end of the 2027-28 school year and to 7% by the end of the 2028-2029 school year. And just to give you the percentages from EdSite, which is the data collection agency for the State Department of Education, currently our percentage of students of color in Regional School District 13 for the 2024-25 school year is 14.1%. And currently the percentage of certified educators from diverse backgrounds is 2.2%. So as you can see, we have a pretty large window, and our goal as a committee and with the district is to close that window and better reflect the population of our students in Regional School District 13. So just a couple things we've really tried to do to promote diversity in the district. First of all, we've worked really hard with Central Connecticut State University and asked them to provide us student teachers and other students who are completing field experiences as part of their educational program to work here in Regional School District 13. And that's been pretty beneficial. We've had 5 individuals involved in student teaching experiences in the last 2 years who have done their teaching experiences in Regional School District 13. And this is really important. It's important because it's about connections. And if we have a real quality educator, those connections are made.
it helps when we have an opening where those relationships are already established. So that's a really, really important part. And we hope to build those relationships with not only Central Connecticut, but Southern Connecticut State University and also the State Department of Education to attend relevant workshops where we can promote postings for teaching positions in the school district. Another accomplishment that we have made in 2024-2025, we applied for a grant from the Connecticut State Department of Education to increase educator diversity. And this was called the Educators Rising Program. And we were fortunate enough to be a recipient of that grant. And as a result of that grant, we have established an Educators Rising program in Coggins Regional High School, which is part of the Art of Teaching class that Deb Stone established in Katy last year. Last year was the pilot year. We had 15 students participate in the Educators Rising program. The culmination of that activity was an Educators Rising conference at Central Connecticut State University, which we attended. The students observed various seminars and also engaged in watching some competition with other schools in the Educators Rising program. This year we have 13 students and we plan to participate in actual competitions through the Educators Rising program. And this is truly a grow your own program. And the composition of about half the kids last year was from diverse backgrounds. So again, another way to get our students involved in education. And hopefully they come back and they work in this district as educators. At this point, for the past 2 years, we've hired 2 educators from diverse backgrounds in the past 8 months. And just to give you some statistics, during the 2023-2024 school year, our population of diverse educators was 0.6%. For the 2024-2025 school year, that population has increased to 2.2%. And at this point in the school year, our population has increased to 2.8%. So again, we're getting folks in, and our goal is to continue that trend to get additional individuals into our schools to work as teachers. A couple challenges I just wanted to mention is to post for positions in websites that are directly aligned with historically Black colleges and other areas where diverse candidates look for positions. So we hope to pilot a posting this year in diversityined.com website. It's a little bit expensive for a 30-day posting. It's $150, but we're going to pilot and see if we can get some candidates who we can feel would make a positive addition to the school district. Just one other factor, due to the limited size of our district, we have limited numbers of openings. But again, we're trying to get these efforts to, again, promote, hire, and retain educators from diverse backgrounds, because we truly feel it's really, really important for our kids. And we find that it's not only students from diverse backgrounds who benefit from teachers of color or from other diverse areas, but it's all students. So this is very, very important. Okay. And I just wanted to give Linda a little recognition. Part of the state mandate is anti-bias training, and the state provided a videotape that basically accomplished that mandate. But Linda had created an exemplary video that's kind of the hallmark of our anti-bias training. Really appreciate Linda doing that. It was very well done.
Oh, thank you.
Okay.
Is that just for teachers or is it for like paraprofessionals?
So the mandate is for teachers, but we want to include paraprofessionals as well. And again, it's really, really important in a lot of ways. Paraprofessionals are kind of a gateway to teaching. And I'm hopeful that when the state
I wonder if they're not putting up the gone fishing thing this year. What? The gone fishing sign at Dairy Queen or Dairy Sir. Really?
That is very important.
They shouldn't be able to be saying anything.
Yeah, it's a webinar, right? So they
It's
should
a
have.
webinar. I'm not sure how it's going.
So I'm just hoping the state creates a pathway from being a paraprofessional or teacher assistant to an actual teacher. And if they can provide experiences as far as field experiences and student teaching experiences within the district, that would be a great, great opportunity.
One quick question. You had said because of the size of our district, just being able to have open spots is sometimes a difficult
A little bit of a challenge. Invariably, for the past couple of years, those openings are in specialized areas, i.e. special education, foreign language, things of that nature, which limits us a little bit as far as hiring folks. But certainly, we're going to make every effort to increase that pool of educators for our openings.
Of course, and is there any, that there would never be a push to let a current teacher go in order to hit the mandate, correct?
No, that's correct.
Thank you.
Okay.
Kevin, there's discussions all over the state about declining enrollment everywhere. I suspect there is going to be teachers available, so that might help the cause a little bit as well, just to advertise in the right places. Is our pay scale commensurate with other districts? Because it's not that we have to pay the most, right? As I don't believe money is a direct connection to happiness with work. To me, it would be kind of a privilege to teach here, in my opinion, but
I would say, Jamie, our salary schedule is pretty competitive with surrounding districts in the area.
Thank you, Kevin. I know it's a lot of hard work to do this.
Okay, thanks, Bob.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
You have time for a comment? Any in-person public comment?
Sorry.
Is there any online public comment besides going fishing?
We have one person coming in, Amanda, coming in now.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yep.
All right, my name is Amanda Betty from Durham. I have two parts to my comments. My first focus is on the practical financial implementation of the volunteer background check policy that we have going on, particularly when it relates to the field trip chaperones. Just so we're all aware, I fully support safety measures, when it comes to the children. But I just have a couple of questions and things I want to point out. My first thing is, will the district designate a single dedicated coordinator to manage the entire Group 2 volunteer background check process? Just because a centralized point of contact would ensure consistency and efficient follow-up for all volunteers who have questions. And then if the district could provide, a clear step-by-step workflow document detailing how a volunteer initiates the background check, because I saw that it was revised that the district will be covering the costs, how that's going to work, whether, a volunteer is going to pay up front, get reimbursed, or if they're going to have some sort of payment ahead of time. The other problem that I've come across is, it could be 3 to 4 weeks processing time for background checks. Sometimes we only get 3 weeks notice or less for field trips. So I just want to know how that's going to work, to ensure that, timely approvals are done. And then I just wanted to go, along the election process that just happened. I just want to say I'm pretty disappointed that the board's decision to retain most of the current officers, given the current, image that the district, the board has, the controversy surrounding the leadership, the decision signals really a missed opportunity for necessary change and direction. Our community really expects leadership that embodies trust and transparency. I want to thank Christine for putting her name out there and having the courage to do that, because a lot of people really want to see change. And I really want to urge the board to recognize that the public dissatisfaction is huge, and prioritize, meaningful actions to repair its relationships with the community moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Amanda.
Just while we don't, I don't want to comment but I will clarify in public comment. Just to clarify, the volunteer background check is only for volunteers who are actually going to be alone with kids. So we have a lot of parents who volunteer with staff. That's going to continue as usual. The volunteer for the background check is anytime that we're allowing another adult to be alone with kids and on overnight trips, things like that.
Any other comments online?
I don't see any other hands up.
All right, thank you. Have next item is item 6, approval of minutes. I have a motion to approve the minutes from the November 12th, 2025 meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Any comments, any changes? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
I abstain. I abstain too.
And we're there.
I abstain as well.
Good.
Yep.
Thank you. Superintendent's report.
We have a pretty big agenda tonight, so I'm really just gonna submit my report as written, and there's nothing in here really except things that we're doing at the meeting and updates. But a couple of very quick highlights is I really enjoyed Jenny Lucier's presentation at the CABE conference. It was fantastic about the importance of libraries and reading and encouraging everything that happens with our library media specialists. And in addition to that, I wanted to remind everybody to please do your strategic planning survey. As of today, we have 168 responses, which is a good start, but I bet we can get a lot more. And there's also a sign up going around for focus groups. So please consider signing up for a focus group so that we can, have a more in-depth conversation about the kind of things that are going to go into the plan for the next 5 years.
That was quick.
That was quick.
Chairman's update. One of the things that we have to do is assign new committees. I'd rather have your input of what committee you want to be on, and then we can make it after the fact. I know that Mark is interested on the building committee. I haven't heard from anybody else. So if we have lots of space, and I know Christine is already on finance. I don't know what else you would like to be on, but please let me know what committees you'd like to be on, and we can make those assignments and move some things around. We'll do it by email.
Yeah.
Okay.
I wanted to let everybody know where we have vacancies right now, just as you're letting Bob know. We need 2 people on the building committee. We need 2 people on the policy committee, and we need 1 person on the student achievement committee.
And of course, you can go to all
Yeah.
committee meetings, but those will be the ones that vote.
Those are the half.
Value encourage at least 2 committees per member, perhaps 3.
Yeah,
I know how
I
many.
think it's almost 3, but 2 is good. And there's really no votes in most of the committees except the building committee. The members that was appointed to the building committee would actually vote at the building committee on budgets, projects, on plans, things like that.
And for the new members, so which committees start at 6 or later?
I didn't hear you.
Which committees start at 6 or later?
Right now, none of them. They're all starting around 5.
Okay.
So we talked about Linda wanted
Anybody
to
who works.
her
Doesn't work.
Yeah.
committee to 5, and that's
Yeah.
been done. I'm more than willing to have them meet later, but the committees that involve staff were just out of courtesy for the staff. But if everybody would like to meet at 5 or 6, that's good with me. So let's talk about doing the committee times as well. When you tell me what interesting, whether or not it's better for you to meet later. I know we commit a lot of Wednesdays. Most of the meetings are Wednesdays, and they take quite a bit of time. I would just want to also recognize that Linda gave also a great presentation at the CABE conference along with Jenny, and
I'm smiling.
huh?
I said I'm smiling.
You want to say what you talked about quickly?
So we talked about the title was, board leadership to support multilingual learners. And then we went over the law and then moving from compliance to coherence. That's all I can.
And the only other thing is that you gotta notice for a concert, if you haven't been to one of our concerts, please come. I know a lot of kids your kids will start being in the concert very shortly. But they're always great. So I think the little kids would like it. And they'll be fine.
I think great attendance certainly enhances the whole music program. You get younger students that want to continue it. And it's been directly correlated to student achievement. The music program is hugely, hugely influential in a kid's intellectual progress.
And again, I just wanted to thank everybody, thank Christine for volunteering. It's not something you do lightly to take over this job. It's not, it's a lot of time and a lot of work. So thank you. Kim, staff report?
We finished the year-to-date November, 36% of our budget has been expended. 97.6 has been encumbered, and we've received 40% of our budgeted revenue. We typically, I cut off purchasing, I don't want to say cut off, but reduce purchasing after March 1st. I ask all staff members to encumber everything they need prior to that date that they can reasonably foresee. That doesn't mean there can't be any other purchases or emergencies, but I ask them to plan for the rest of the year. That helps me know where we are with the budget. Clearly, we can't go over budget. So that helps me know what we're looking at to forecast for the end of the year. Obviously, like I said, there's certain areas that I don't restrict any spending because there's things that come up that we don't know. It would just be things like I need a new chair, something like that, that I would say, can you wait until maybe we have better idea come June? So just some things like that. And this is not new. This has been, I've been doing this every year. And the reason for that is because we already do have accounts that are over budget at this point, and we're only in November, just finished November. We are over expended on our salaries, but that's not unexpected because we did budget at a 98% vacancy factor. So that's not unexpected at all, but that will not be a strategy I propose to use for this year's budget, this budget we're building and forward. It's been not a friend to us lately, so it's not working anymore. We are over budget in our legal today. We're over budget in our outplacement transportation, and we are over budget in our outplacement tuition. Having said all that, that does not mean the total budget is over budget because there are a number of accounts that still have positive balances in them that outweigh that. So I watch that every single month. I will not let you go over budget. But that is the reason for kind of the purchasing caution, maybe the yellow light, right, in March 1st. Just kind of let's see where we're at. So just wanted to let you know that. Budget 26-27, we discussed it briefly at the Board of Selectmen, Board of Ed meeting. Prior to that, this meeting, school budgets were submitted on 12/5. Business office is reviewing the budgets. We did have an administrative meeting today on staffing. We will have an administrative meeting on proposals on the 17th. Any kind of new programs or any new equipment or anything that's being proposed to be put in the budget is a proposal. And then that's vetted by the leadership team. And then depending on, the priority of it, whether it gets included or not. And then also one other thing is we are going to have an ADA, so an accessibility report done on Strong in high school over the holiday break. We recognize we have ADA needs in these schools, and so we would like to know what we are looking at for funding. So with the budget coming up, and maybe we can phase that in, or how we're going to handle that. So that is something that we are taking very strongly into account at this time. And that's all.
Thank you. Any questions for Kim?
I'm praying for this coldest December in many moons stops. That costs money as well.
All right, thank you, Kim. Update on memorial.
Yeah, our owner's rep is unable to be in person tonight, so she asked me to just go over her report quickly. Just a very brief update on the memorial project is that this morning We had our phase 2 PCR with the state, so we went through all of those approvals, which is demolition and hazmat. So Kim and I were on that meeting, and Eric most of this morning. In terms of a schedule update, we're going to start looking very closely at the schedule just to make sure that if there's anything that we can change or adjust at this point, just to make sure that everything's running on time. We're going to schedule a scheduling meeting coming up soon. We did have an original phase 2 demo and hazmat estimate that came in high, but our owners, reps, and architects and our construction company met to resolve all of those issues so that we could make sure that we could trim that and get back on track. So that was also successful. And then there are no significant changes to the project to report, and that is on behalf of STV.
So as of now, we are still on schedule.
Yep.
Yes.
The meeting today was to approve the state demolition, the hazmat removal, and the purchase, basic ordering of the switch gear and the generators, which have about a 50-week or more time delay in getting them in, so they had to go early. Our next meeting is on January 22nd is for the approval by the state of the final design and ready to go. That will then allow us to go out to bid on that or out to construction on that. So
The abatement I was gonna start, if I remember correctly, like second week in January. Okay, because I have been starting to tell people that because I feel like that's the question I get asked most often when I run into people like, why is nothing being done? It was just sitting there, so, and I understand that because it can be very frustrating,
we have to get
especially.
state approval.
Yeah, well, especially having a kid who is, part of the group that's affected by all the moves. So I'm like, no, January, like you're gonna probably start seeing some trucks there and the abatement starts, but that takes time. But I think once that kind of
Has to go out to
starts.
bid, so to give the bidders time to do their quotes and their bids, it's probably out on the street for about a month, and then we'll start.
Yeah.
In Middlefield, the fire department project has started quickly, so, but that's a whole
Oh,
different
they
animal.
were, yeah.
Like quite a
they
bit
were
smaller
amazing,
as well,
Yeah.
And when people see that, they're like, how come I can't do that? I totally
Yeah.
see that.
Yeah, but I think kind of like now that I feel like things are starting to finally move.
There's 3 phases, remember, the first was the swing space, the second space is this demo.
Yeah.
And then looking at the plans the other night, basically all the windows and the brick around the windows have to be removed and all the tile on the floor. So I think we made a really good decision not to have kids in there while that was happening.
Yeah.
So, but that's, I think we have good people who are working very hard on that project, so. Had like 4 meetings this month already. It's only.
We got one next week. Oh, and sorry, one other thing, while we're talking about memorials, we did kind of start talking about it towards the end of that. Not the last one, but the one before that, about the naming, and I feel like that's gonna be really exciting for people, and I know we talked about there being policy actually for naming a building, and it calls for a subcommittee. So as we were kind of just talking about committee member assignments, does it make sense just at least start getting whoever wants to be on that
Sure.
committee and then maybe having the first meeting? Because I think that will get people like amped up
Just-
for it.
And also that is a survey question. So I'm
Yeah.
trying to encourage people to do the strategic planning survey. So we have 168 responses and we already have great ideas coming in for the name of the building.
Yeah.
Should it stay the same? Should it be a new name? You can suggest a name, and people are suggesting new mascots too. So
Yeah.
everything's on the table. So that subcommittee for that will have a lot of really good information to start with.
Yes.
I'd like to reaffirm for those that weren't here for the 5 o'clock meeting, the town of Middlefield has offered the full page in our quarterly newsletter, which has color printing as well. But to communicate what's happening in the district, particularly related to the memorial project. So, the word will get out there in various ways and it'll be helpful. So we're all actually asked to help compose that as well. But you can be the editor.
There'll be more coming up on this on our building committee reports later on in the meeting, so. Next item is board communications and professional development. I've gotten communications on Amanda, Betty, quick and you need Homer. And on the volunteer policy that we'll be talking about amending tonight. And also on the fundraising policies. And so the fundraising will be discussed at the policy committee on December 17th. So we'll be looking at the fundraising aspects. And also got email from the Memorial PPC and about the same thing with fundraising. So there will be an exciting meeting on the 17th as we figure out how to get that under control. Any other communications? Okay, got new business. We have the first one is go to field trips to Spain and France. Yeah. Are you doing that?
Principal here.
I asked how she was child marriage, so. It's very similar to the one that we took last year. And they try to do the field trips every other year. The music one to either Virginia or Florida. And then this one on the off year to Spain and France, the two languages, obviously, that we teach at the high school. I'm sorry, for those of you that don't know me, because I know there's new board members, I'm Debbie Stone, I'm the high school principal. My name tag's over there, I swear, it really is. Yes, you okay. So Kate's proposing to do a similar trip, visiting some different sites in case kids went last time. And a little bit of a smaller group, and maybe not combining with, but going at the same time as another school, another shoreline school. So that I think the group that they took last year, though a very successful trip, was too many children to kind of herd across the pond. I think that was a little bit a lot for them. So she's proposing the trip. The itinerary, I think, was attached. Hopefully you got a chance to look at it. It's a great experience for kids that don't get to do these things either with their families. I know I never did when I was a kid. We just didn't do those things. So, you know, I think it's a great opportunity for kids. So it would be next April vacation or the end of the week before into April vacation.
Any other questions? With a motion to approve the Cognizant Regional High School field trip to Spain and France for April of 2026-7.
So moved.
The second. Any comments? All in favor? Are you gonna, I will comment, are you gonna limit the number of students?
It's 25, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she would like to this year, I think. I mean, if we had a 26th, I don't think she'd say no. Do you know what I
Yeah,
mean? But
40.
the 40 or 50 was just, it went well. I'm not saying that, but you know, you start to take 40 or 50 kids, you know, it gets to be a lot. So I think she'd like to, I think it'll be a more intimate experience, kind of like the one we're taking to Iceland this year. There's about, I think 15 kids going, and I think they're really gonna have a good experience because of it. So I think this a little more controlled chaos than,
A little more control than chaos.
yeah, exactly.
And then forgive me, I ask this every year, but for those that might not have the means, we do have the ability to support it a little bit as well.
We do,
Because that is a source of little, how
We
come
do.
they get to go and I can't?
yeah, we do. We have the alumni.
The current world climate too certainly dictates that we don't be too American when we go to places. I was in France this summer and my wife said, do not wear that shirt to France. Because, so I don't know if that plays into high school level students, but, you know, and I did notice a little bit of that animosity.
Yeah, they do,
Blend in.
yeah, they do meet and talk about it. I know we've already had 2 Iceland meetings just about, you know, what to wear and what we're going to be doing. Not, you know, you're not just showing up and hanging out in Reykjavik for 14 hours, you know what I mean? So, those conversations need to be had, absolutely.
Didn't there used to be some language?
There's a language in all the approvals now that
Norm used to
it's
bring
in
that.
the, it's in the
Homeland Security.
Yeah, like,
Yeah.
are we supposed to say that with the motion?
I
Well,
think it's
it just has to align to, the form has to align to the policy.
Okay,
Right,
so
so
that's
are
okay,
you-
okay.
And do you mean the part about like the payment?
no,
No,
the
the
part about the
Homeland
security
security
thing.
thing, yeah. I thought we had to say it as
Mhm.
part of the motion, but as long as it's there and everybody knows.
That was a function of the secretary, if I remember from.
yeah, we did have to say it because, but we put it into the form.
It's the form.
Okay, then that's fine. Okay,
So if the threat level, basically, if the threat level goes up, it can be
Yeah.
canceled at any
Yeah.
time without penalties.
Yeah. Mhm.
Okay. Thank
I'm
you.
not going to.
All in favor of Francis Payne?
Aye.
Any opposed? The next item is approval of the Continental Regional High School field trip to Washington. It's the annual trip, right? Or
Yeah, same, right, Craig? I think, the one change is no dinner cruise. I think that's kind of what we're thinking. It's just gotten a little bit, old, I'll say. Is that fair?
The experience isn't what we would want.
There you go. And so there will be a nice change for whatever we end up doing that day, but otherwise, everything that Craig's been doing for how many years? 15 years, remains the same. Hugely successful trip this year. You know, no issues. It was great. So
is that because you went?
I did not go.
Yeah.
No, I did not go. Katie and my lead teacher were at NEASC in Boston.
Oh,
And the number was 55 that went, Craig, 57. And so I sent them with 4 very capable adults and I stayed back with the other 300.
Yeah.
They were all mine, so.
this has been part of Coggeshog's commitment to the students forever, so. Have anybody want to make a motion to approve the field trip?
Second.
Any comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Good to go, Craig.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Next item is review the proposed 2026-27 district calendar and memo regarding the calendar.
So, just want to start by saying thank you to everybody who worked very hard putting minds together to figure out the calendar for next year. And the board is not expected to vote on the calendar tonight. This is the first draft and the first look, and then you'll vote on it officially in January. But right now, I think we have a really good calendar that we're presenting to you. One of the issues that came up that I asked the board to consider in my memo is that, is the importance or lack thereof of having graduation on a Friday. So right now, the way that the calendar is set up, graduation, and the last day of school would be on a Wednesday night. It would be Wednesday night, the 9th, I think it is right now. We have heard that Mrs. Stone and Mrs. Trainer have gotten a lot of feedback about the preference for having graduation on a Friday night so that, you know, Project Grad can happen and everybody likes the weekend. Relatives being able to come into town to be able to be part of graduation, those kind of things. So if the board would like us to rework the calendar to make it fall on a Friday, there's 2 main options. So, in the past, what I've learned is the district could build in 2 anticipated snow days on either side of Memorial Day weekend, which would mean that we would have the Friday and Tuesday, May 28th and June 1st on either side of that long weekend. And then if there are no snow days to make up, those actually just become vacation days. So kind of a bonus at that point. Option 2 is you could add 2 additional vacation days on December 23rd, right before the holiday break, and on February 17th, which would mean there would be a 3-day break in February. So not a full February break vacation, but instead of a Monday, Tuesday, it would be a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So we wanted to put forward those 2 options for you to discuss. Whatever you decide to do, we'll rework the calendar or leave it as is and bring it back to the January meeting for the official vote.
Can we discuss that now?
Yes.
Yeah.
The second option, I like more, but I'd like to hear what everyone else thinks. Christine, I could already tell you that.
I don't like the December 23rd date. You know, oh, well, because I was looking at the calendar, I'm not gonna lie, I definitely come at it from a parent perspective. And I actually had another question of, I was surprised that the first day of school that's being proposed is an early release day, because we haven't done that.
It's not being
Oh,
proposed as an early
I
release.
thought it was, it looked like it was blue. Okay. Sorry.
Because we did discuss that and,
Okay.
the elementary schools definitely prefer the full day on the first day.
It's like a group, it's almost a group.
Oh, maybe it's like, because it says the 27th is the first day on. I think like,
This is-
yeah. Oh, okay, all right, thank you. Okay, all right, so I was looking at the bottom with it coded where it says like early release day.
Oh,
Like
yeah,
that.
this quarter.
Yeah, it's coded early release.
It might just be a different color blue, or we'll need to fix it.
Yeah,
But
it
we
doesn't
did-
say it on the right side, but at the bottom it implies it's an early release. So that
So
might just need to be
definitely
fixed.
not, their
Okay.
consensus was definitely those are full days to
Okay.
start.
You know, I think then just like adding, because the way the holidays fall, it's, you know, then it would be like, it feels like almost like 2 weeks then, like kids out of school. Like if you give the 23rd, I think historically we've done like that, the 2 snow day thing with the long Memorial Day weekend, but.
You know, I agree with you. I prefer it on over Memorial Day rather than around Christmas, because the Christmas break it's a substantial break. And when you look at May, there's an April vacation and then there isn't a break until the end of May. So it makes it just a little bit longer. I know school is out in a couple of weeks, but you know, sometimes you need that time to pull yourself together. So I don't know, I prefer the end of May, Memorial Day.
Have we discussed this with any of the teachers?
So we had, I first central office did a look and then, leadership team, well, actually next I had all the union heads come in.
Okay.
So all the representations from all of our unions came in to discuss it and provide input. And then after that, it went to leadership team.
And what
So there's
was the
been a lot of
general
input.
consensus of that?
Between these two options, I don't think there was any one preferred over the other. There was, I can tell you, a general preference for having graduation on a Friday.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense.
If we did the 23rd, would that move the 22nd to a half day?
If we
Because
did
right
the
now we have Monday, the 21st, Tuesday, the 22nd is full days, the 23rd is a half day. So if we move the 23rd to a full day off, does that push a half day to the 22nd?
No, I don't think we would do a full day and then a half day if we had the 23rd off.
So it's be Monday, Tuesday there.
Monday, Tuesday, full days, and then the 23rd would just be a vacation day. We do have one of our union heads here right now. Craig, I don't know if you want to say if you do think people do have a preference between those two options.
Our biggest concern is we've never, well, one of the concerns I've never seen the year we haven't had snow days. So I would hate to push in the 2 days during the year and push the graduation to a Friday and then end up having snow days anyway. So at least if you have it set as a Friday with the built-in snow days, you do have a little bit of wiggle room for 2 days. You know, that was our thought. Otherwise, I know, I get it that you, that graduation and then we just go into the next week. But then already you're bumping into the next week where you could have kind of avoided that with 2 snow days in June.
Sounds like the consensus is in Memorial Day. Is that right?
Sorry, Steve.
I'm switching my opinion.
They go,
I could just say,
Sure.
if we take away the 23rd as a day off, it's not typical with the rest of the towns around us. When I think about people who have kids in other towns that teach here or vice versa, that is a typical half day. Am I right? And we don't have a teacher friend over there. It's a typical half day for most districts. It just hasn't been because it's been over the weekends, like
Yeah.
longer breaks.
So we will, we'll fix the color coding on the first day of school. We'll build in 2 snow days around Memorial Day weekend. And is there anything else that you want us to consider before we bring it back for the final approval in January?
it's like one other clarification. If we do the 2 built-in snow days, would we determine now in which order they would be used? So if we have 1 snow day, parents would probably want to know, is it this
The
day? or
Friday
this
is the
day?
Tuesday.
Coin toss?
Yeah.
Too soon?
Too soon.
I think, Cindy, we did it chronologically.
Oh, lovely. So the Friday
Thursday,
first.
Friday,
Yeah, and then the Tuesday.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Just doing voting for a coin toss.
The kids take it.
Yeah.
Start,
Anything else?
you set a schedule. All right, we'll bring it back in January and then look on the schedule.
Yeah, and I do just want to put it out there so that we say it and repeat it over and over again, is that the calendar for the year after will be different and it will be a little bit of a crunch because we will probably have another after Labor Day start with construction and moving into Memorial. So we just want that information to be out there and transparent starting now.
You know what would be nice, sorry, as you just mentioned that, maybe now just start, I would, if the Y can do something for the families with younger children, especially families that will be going into that school.
They were great
That would
about
be-
that
Yeah,
this year.
right.
Yeah, so it would be nice to just kind of put that bug in their ear to see what they can do.
Yeah. Next item is Peter.
I just want to talk a little bit about how this is going to go. So, first, I did receive, communication that the, Teachers Association ratified unanimously the contract this afternoon. Thank you very much for that. We're excited. So the way that this would go, everybody on the board was able to review things. If any member of the board has questions that you would like to talk about before you do a vote, or if you have questions for our attorney, we can recess the meeting and discuss that and come back prior to the vote. If nobody has questions about the agreement, then we do not have to recess.
Anybody have any questions about what we sent out?
I think
Like,
Peter and Brendan and the union team did and the board team as well. I think did a really good job.
Christine and I were the board.
Yeah, it went really smooth and it's always really nice to see when people can collaborate and listen to one another. So I think that's just very much appreciated from all sides of the table.
Yeah. It's great negotiations. Thank you very much, everyone. Sounds like there are no questions.
If there's no questions,
No recess.
you have to vote, yeah.
You have a motion or do you need it? I have it. You have it.
Think you want to read the motion?
Sure. Nick to read it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Look at you.
That the Regional School District 13 Board of Education ratify the tentative agreement for a successor collective bargaining agreement with the Regional School District 13 Education Association and authorizes the board chair to sign such collective bargaining agreement on behalf of the board.
You have a second?
Second.
Any additional comments? Again, I would like to thank everybody who participated in that and Craig and his large team. And were very helpful in getting this done, and Peter as well. More questions, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you very much. Thank you, Craig. Thank you. Next item is IMF discussion of insurance coverage.
Yeah, we had a request to go over some insurance coverage issues from the current lawsuit. So hold on, just let me pull up the memo that I sent. You want a copy? Sure, that's probably easier. So we did have questions about the insurance coverage that's provided in the indemnification. So per request, there's information about the coverage, which is under the regional school district insurance policy. coverage is provided under the educator's legal liability section. That was one of the questions, what part of our policy is it covered on? That section applies to all employees and board members of the district. The second question was about the fees. The legal fees are being paid through our insurance deductible, which is $5,000. There's a timeline request. There was a lawsuit, was originally filed with the court on June 16th of 2025. The second thing in the timeline, notice of the suit was sent to the district insurance agent with confirmation of initial receipt on June 23rd, 2025. Third, the insurance company confirmed acceptance of the claim and assigned counsel on August 4th, 2025. And four, the district received the formal written claim acceptance on October 22nd, 2025, which outlined coverage subject to the role and limitations of the policy. I did put in here, note, at no time was this claim denied by the insurance company. I do want to acknowledge that there is a narrative that seems to be in the public that at some point the claim was denied by the insurance company and then resubmitted and accepted. That's not the case. So the claim was never denied by the insurance company. There was an original email that came from the agent that said, not sure because this looks like it could be personal. That was just an email from the agent. It did not have any bearing on the claim being denied. So hopefully that is clearing up some information and making things more transparent for the public.
Any other questions? If not, the first is policy review. We've moved the volunteer that was scheduled for the second read to back to the first read to make some changes, and Cindy and staff have made changes. Do you want to go over them?
I don't know. Yeah, like I just dropped off that. Yeah, so we did have some feedback, as you heard, in the public comment about the volunteer policy. And this is great because this is exactly what's supposed to happen. So we do a policy meeting, we do a first reading, it goes out into the public. And then we get some concerns and we're able to rework things. So the process worked beautifully this time. So thank you for everybody who did give us feedback on this. What we wound up doing, going back to a first reading, one of the biggest concerns was this language that no employees could volunteer. So we really wanted to take a second look at that. What we wound up doing is saying that the district recognizes volunteering as an important part of our school community, and that employees who reside in the district may desire to volunteer for their own children's or grandchildren's activities. Employees shall notify their immediate supervisor of their intention to volunteer for an activity with a minimum of 5 days notice. Coverage really is a really significant issue. Getting subs is an issue, so we really still do need notice of this. Unless the activity is a district assignment, meaning the school is actually assigning that employee to that activity, employees wanting to volunteer will do so by using the personal day, and approval of said leave shall be consistent with all collective bargaining unit agreements. Okay, so hopefully that clears that language up a little bit. In addition, the change that we made, there was a question that came up earlier about the cost of criminal history and background checks. Again, just to clarify, that's really only when adults are alone with kids, which I think everybody would agree is a really good idea to make sure people are background checked. And the cost for that criminal history and background check for designated volunteers shall be borne by Regional School District 13. So the district is going to pay for those designated volunteer costs. Once this policy is approved, we are going to hopefully get some messaging out to ask people if this is something that they think they will do, to just go ahead and start the process. So we don't have to worry about that timeline or any kind of a crunch. If you're somebody if you're a parent and you do a lot of these field trips, or if you might want to go to France and Spain, on an overnight trip, something like that, just go ahead and get the process started so that there isn't a time crunch. In addition, we put some exclusions at the end. So these regulations pertain to school-sponsored activities, events, and field trips only, all of which are connected to curriculum and learning goals. These regulations do not include participation in events or fundraising sponsored by other organizations, volunteer work at the Durham Fair, or other events and activities outside the scope and oversight of RSD 13. So I hope that kind of clears up some of the feedback that we got.
Do we do our own fingerprinting or do we send them?
We send them.
Yeah, that's done in
Go to, like,
town.
Most of the time, we send them to state police headquarters.
Yep.
Yeah.
Give me your. And just my experience is the initial, I was in a district where we did it, what we do it at Learn too, but where we did our own and the initial, rejection is almost immediate.
Mhm.
But then they do it deeper. So I appreciate the timing concerns, but it's probably not gonna be an issue.
And it lasts for 5 years, so when it gets done, we're good for 5 years.
Can I just ask, I know you said criminal background checks, but do you do a DCF background check?
Is that part, Kevin would know if DCF, yes.
So that's part of.
That's part of
as
the
a
background
parent check. I just want to make sure.
In case like, we don't have a lot of situations where a designated volunteer is required, you know, where we're actually leaving an adult alone with kids. But people were concerned about the cost. The cost would be, Kevin, I believe, $100 for each background check.
Yes.
So, we estimate that this would have a budget impact of maybe $2,000 to the budget if we have 20 people who are designated volunteers. Because again, it doesn't apply to the usual parent volunteers on field trips.
And these volunteers will certainly be volunteering for many situations, so it's not like you have to redo it over and over and over again.
Right. We have a core group who will do so much. Yeah.
Any other questions on this? This would, for those new people that, this is the policy that we adopted, the first 2 pages where it was sent out. The issue with the fee and what Cindy just read is in the regulations. And so that's the administrative part of it. So all we're really voting on to move forward is the first page, which says teachers can volunteer. So
And I'm sorry, one just clarifying comment. When you say, because it just popped in my head, like when volunteers are alone. So like I was thinking like, what did they, like, let's say they're going on a nature walk, you know, and so there's a parent with like 5 kids, and another parent with 5 kids, you know, because they kind of, you know, maybe go off and do different things. Is that considered?
Yeah, that's
Being-
considered alone.
Okay.
So we talked with principals about kind of regrouping. So one of the things we talked about is they might send a parent with 5 kids and they might send a teacher with 5 kids. And now what they'll do is they'll send those 2 people with 10 kids. You know,
Yeah.
so that there's always an employee there.
Okay, and then in that example, then they would not have to, okay, so that's how we'll get around that. So then I was thinking, oh, it's gonna be a lot more.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes
Yeah,
sense.
as
Thank
long
you.
as somebody is with an employee, we don't have to worry about this extra level of the designated volunteer.
Okay, that makes sense. Thank you.
So if there was 2 parents
Mhm.
with a group of 10 kids, they would still need to have.
Yeah.
the back-
Mhm.
okay.
So, with everybody's approval, we'll move this to the second read. There's no vote right now. It just goes to the meeting, in January. All right. Thank you. The next item is, the second read on the following policies. Curriculum 6140, graduation 5127, orientation of board members 9230. And visitors and observations in schools, proposed by Shipman. Is there any comments or questions you have on any of these? If we can go over them in detail. I think they're all sent out. Again, this is the second read, so. If there's no questions or concerns, we can vote them all at once. And so I have a motion to approve the policies for curriculum 6140, graduation 5127, orientation of board members 9230, and visitors and observations in schools, which will get a number once we adopt it.
So moved.
Second.
Any other comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. The next item is item 13, committee report, student achievement.
We already had the student achievement committee report at the last meeting. It's just that the minutes weren't ready. So that's why this is linked here. So we don't really need a report on there. We just wanted to make sure that the minutes were in the record.
The next is building committee. If you don't mind, I'll take building committee November 5th, building committee November 19th, and building committee December 3rd all at once. That's okay with everybody?
We'll let it fly.
Huh?
We'll let it fly.
All right. There's minutes for all these things. All these minutes are available now. The November 5th meeting, we looked at the final change orders for the phase one, the swing space, and approved them. We set up the schedule for the state observations, state approvals on the 12th, December 10th and January 22nd. We had a discussion about keeping the mosaics that were art and other artwork that's in the school, keeping them into the new building and getting them in place in the new building. We talked about the coordination to assist with planning and zoning and local approvals. We basically approved several invoices and a change order approvals. That was basically it. On the November 19th, we had reviewed a report from our arborist. There's a tree that would be in the courtyard that we had a long discussion of whether or not it should be removed, and tried to decide if there's any significance to the tree. Determined there wasn't, and the arborist has given us indication that it's okay to remove it. We had also approved third-party reviewers for the structure and also for all of the code requirements. So we approved two third-party to be hired. These will help represent the towns in reviewing the various permits and stuff. So they'll have an expert on it on hand that will help them in reviewing it. The first one was Mike Harton, and the second one was Prior Architects, and they were the code and building official information. So the description of them is in the minutes. The December 5th, we reviewed the demo and the abatement plans, and we got information that Middlefield Planning and Zoning approved the site plan. They had some restrictions on lighting in the parking lot, and we're going to work with them on what lighting is necessary for safety. We went over the final plans for the demolition and abatement as we talked about earlier. And those were basically quick summaries of what we did at each of those meetings. Any questions? I think the most important thing is that we're on the schedule, we're meeting the dates, and we've done a value engineering on all of the proposals. The value engineering committing as we're still under budget by removing certain items and readjusting certain things. One issue that came up by the teachers is they wanted sinks in all the upper grades, and we've been able to keep them in the budget. So there'll be a sink in all the new rooms upstairs. Anything else? Oh, those are the quick summaries of what went on in the building meeting. The next is finance. You were there, right?
No, I was away, sorry.
Yeah, finance committee met. The finance committee is a scheduled committee with members appointed for each of the towns. Only one of the appointed members came, Jim Martinelli from the town of Durham. We talked about the budget and concerns that Durham had with our proposed budget, and then what they had concerns for what they were doing, but we didn't have any comments from Middlefield at that meeting. we heard tonight that, officials don't seem to get the information about their finance committee. So we'll make sure that they get information from now on to send to each member of their finance committee. And, I know with Eileen there, they'll certainly be more attentive to this, so.
Oh, I think so, yeah,
Great.
yeah, since they have a new chair, so
Yeah.
I think so.
So anyway, that was the finance committee and the school district climate committee. Linda.
I am totally unprepared. I'm not well. We met, it was great.
Do you want me to do a quick?
Yes,
summary?
please.
Okay.
Okay, I think I have it.
Yeah, you too.
Yeah, so this was the first meeting of the official new school district climate committee under the new Connecticut school climate laws. So it's interesting to have those initial conversations about what kind of data do we want to look at every meeting. We looked at some student behavior data. We looked at the challenging behavior reports that came in from any of the principals at any of the schools. We talked about how we want to look at that data regularly so that we can, have something that's really consistent and we can track over time. And talked about a lot of our recent efforts in terms of the principals are working with their teams to create their school climate plans. We're doing a lot of work on restorative practices throughout the district. Restore the core with your t-shirts, going back to our core ethical values. There's a lot of really good work happening in this area, but I also do want to add that there is, since this law is new and it is a pretty significant change for some of our administrators who are used to doing like bullying things the old way, right? There is a little bit of building the plane while we're flying it and trying to just figure out what's going to work for Region 13. But it's a great committee and I think we had some great conversations that first time.
And we ended dead on time.
Yes, we did.
Thank you. That part you remember.
That part I remember.
The, I think one of the things that was most interesting is the incidents.
Mhm.
The highest were in kindergarten and eighth grade.
Yeah.
And,
And the buses.
Kindergartners learning how to ride the bus.
Right.
If I can put it that way. But also one of the things we learned in looking at that data is we didn't break it down by, how many students that is, right?
That's
So
Yeah, that's.
you could have 50 incidents reported and that might not be 50 kids. It could be 5 kids 10
Yeah.
times, right? So that's another thing that we learned about what we want to present more clearly in the future. The other thing, this wasn't part of the meeting, but just while we're talking about it, is that at our leadership team, the principals talked about the benefits of doing a behavior referral form, like from the incident report that you got on Linkit, a calibration exercise.
Nice.
For, what kind of incidents are they putting in as behavior referrals? And when they look at those, how are they putting them in? Just so that we can calibrate that and then just, again, like work towards being consistent K through 12. So I think that's also a great idea and a great addition to all that work.
thank you. We've asked Peter Lamar from our shipment to come and talk a little bit about procedures for new board members and we're getting together and
Do you want to do public comment before or after that? I
we
just don't
can
know if anybody.
we can switch to do public comment now rather than waiting for, or we want to listen to everyone to speak.
Yeah.
Anybody have public comment? Yeah, we'll switch. Can I have a motion to change the agenda quickly to
So move.
allow the
Second.
public comment? All in favor?
Aye.
Public comment.
Good evening, everybody.
You can sit
I've
at
been-
the table so we can hear you better.
I can sit down.
Yeah.
Thank you. I have bad knees. I haven't been here since COVID. I'm Rhonda Riggett Stevens. I live at 40 Banta Lane. The last time I was here to talk to the board, I was telling you that I was worried about the way that the board was handling COVID with the masking, keeping the kids home, and I told you I was worried about the psychological and academic impacts that would have. So we've seen some evidence from that. So tonight I'm here because I'd like to express to you my concern about what appears to be the misuse of public taxpayer funds to pay for the legal expense
expenses of former Board of Ed chair in what appears to be a personal matter. Question to the board. Did the RSD 13 Board of Education inadvertently award indemnification in error on July 16, 2025? Was the indemnified former Board of Education chair acting on behalf of the Board of Education within the scope and course of their duties or under the direction of the Board of Education? The board can vote to revoke indemnification and seek reimbursement if the board's decision to indemnify was arrived at in error. On July 24th, 2025, I asked the RSD 13 Board of Education members and Dr. Sidney Leggett to provide me with information pertaining to the Board of Education's indemnification decision. I asked 8 questions, and Dr. Leggett responded on August 5th, 2025. The 4 questions I want to read to you, these are the questions and the answers that I got from Dr. Leggett, who is answering on behalf of the board. During the period of December 21st through July 25th, any actions, I was asking for information regarding this, copies of documents, any actions, directives, authorizations by Lindsay Dahlhammer, Board of Education Chairperson member, to act on behalf of the Regional School District 13 Board of Education related to the filing a complaint against and investigating Anthony DeFilio at the school district level and at the Connecticut DCF level. So the response that she wrote, I have it in writing and I've sent all of this to the board members, is Region 13 has not done any investigations into Mr. DeFilio and no complaints were filed with the Connecticut DCF against Mr. DeFilio. Question number 5. During the same time period, any correspondence, including emails, letters, memos, meeting notes, texts, recordings, and directives between the Board of Education and Lindsay Dahlhammer, chair member, and other RSD 13 board members, district administrators, and legal counsel in connection with the filing a complaint and investigating Anthony DeFilio at the school district and the DCF level. And her response was, see above, the information does not exist. And then the other question is, during that same time period, I would like copies of all meeting agendas, minutes, and related materials documenting or referencing the involvement or authorization of Lindsay Dahlhammer, Board of Education Chair and Member, to act on Regional School District 13 Board of Education's behalf to file a complaint and to investigate Anthony DeFilio at the school district level and the Connecticut DCF level. And she wrote, see above, this information does not exist. So my concern here is that according to the state statutes that Chairman Moore cited to invoke indemnification, which was statute 10-235, that requires that the member of the Board of Education be acting on behalf of the Board of Education to be indemnified. But in Sydney's answers, Dr. Leggett's answers, she's saying that there's no evidence that she was acting on behalf of the Board of Education. The second piece is that the insurance company also requires that, because I asked from Kim and I got the 2 insurance policies that the district has. And in those insurance policies, it also states that the person who is indemnified must be acting on behalf of the Board of Education. They must have, but when I asked for copies and evidence of minutes, text messages, votes, agendas, nothing exists. And so I'm here to talk to you today because I'm very concerned at how the board arrived at indemnification if Ms. Dahlhammer was not acting on behalf of the Board of Education. And I know that you can't answer me, but I would like the board to revisit this issue because it's very serious. These are taxpayer funds. This seems like it's a personal issue. I know that the lawsuit was a personal lawsuit, not against Ms. Dahlhammer as a member of the Board of Education, but against her and her husband personally. And so I would like the board to revisit this issue, taking into consideration the answers that I received from my FOIA request and the litmus test from both the state statutes and the insurance company. I couldn't hear Dr. Leggett. It's Leggett, by the way. Leggett, sorry, Leggett. I couldn't hear. I thought I heard you say that
the insurance company approved the claim. It's a little hard to hear back there. Is that true?
Yes.
Yes, so, yeah, and so the other question is, I know that with regard to the claims that you have to file, you have to attest to the fact that she was acting on behalf of the Board of Education, but if there is no evidence, I don't know how that claim was filled out. I asked for a copy of the claim, which I know that you're working on, the claim submission, the claim approval letter, and then also money spent to date. And I just want to make one other point is that, and I know my time is almost up, I know, which I know you added that paragraph for me last time during COVID, that one in the bottom. The last thing I wanted to say was that it's also very concerning because I understand that Mrs. Dahlheimer filed an injunction against the ethics committee. And so to stop the hearings that occurred, and they are, my understanding is $7,000 they have to come up with to pay for that. And then another 10,000 that they're going to have to come up with. Right, so we have our district giving money to pay for this, you know, this, to fight against this, this lawsuit. The district is paying, but now she's also filing injunctions with our town committee, so our towns also have to pay for that. So I'd like the board respectfully, and thank you for taking the time to listen and to let me express my concerns. I'd like the board to revisit this issue and decide whether or not there should be a revote based on information that you have. Thank you.
Very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other public comment? Any online?
I have another comment.
Right.
So thank you. So
Please state your name.
Jeff Quinn,
Tim.
I'm in Durham. So I'm here today, and first of all, for those that were recently elected, you know, congratulations. I went into the voting very, very excited because I want to see change, and I'm going to leave today, and I don't feel like it's going to happen. I'm very disappointed. We just made a very significant decision tonight over a coin. So I'm hoping, you know, when the gentleman talks about policies for the new people that have to listen, that we talk about this coin flip. Because I think Mrs. Cohen is the one that should be hired here. I'm sorry, I should take a breath. I'm just shaking because I continue to go to these meetings and I leave more frustrated. I hope things change. I really do. But all I get is just blank stares, and I'm just very frustrated. And I don't see change coming from what just happened over a coin. I hope you guys could come up with a new policy.
Okay. Any online?
I don't see any hands up online. Is there anybody online who wanted public comment?
I guess that's all. We have the new item 15 on with Peter. We won't have public comment after this, and we have a hearing after this on a other matter, so this would be an executive session.
I have your presentation that I'm gonna pull up. Thank you.
I have a missing member of somebody down in the copy.
Before, or after, I just had one thing to mention quickly.
I think it depends on what's on the agenda.
How is that?
It's up to the board chair.
It's not anything bad.
Okay.
I know it's. Right.
Your presentation is being shared up on the screen and with everybody at home.
I usually get up and walk around if that's all right, and, or I can sit down, but.
We put out the cushion.
I know the cushion, actually the cushions are right over there if you want me.
No, not for last, however many minutes.
All right, well, thank you, everybody. I was asked to come here just to give a brief overview of board members' roles and responsibilities with respect to your duties of the Board of Education. I appreciate the invitation. I'm also mindful that it's had a lot of items on the agenda already and a few more to go. So I will certainly stop and ask and answer any questions that you have, because I know this is important information, but I also want to be mindful of your time too. So without further ado, one of the things this is a refresher for some of you and new for others, is that in your roles as board members, you kind of serve a dual role. The Board of Education is a dual role. In one sense, you are agents of the state, in a sense that in Connecticut, education is administered by the state, and through its statutes, it has delegated certain responsibilities and requirements for boards of education to implement the educational interests of the state. So you have a function to implement those state mandates, those state educational interests. On the other hand, you are also town officials, right? Elected officials from your representative towns to serve on the Region 13 Board of Ed. So there's a local aspect as well. So I'm not going to get too much into that, but just keep in mind that the Board of Education has this dual role with both a state agent and a local agent. In this case, obviously collective between Middlefield and Durham. One of your central kind of duties as a board member or a board as an entity is you are the policymaker for the district. Okay, so you hear this kind of refrain a couple of times. You guys set the budget, set the policy, the direction, the vision for the Board of Education, whereas the superintendent and everybody below her are the administration implements that, the operations. And so you have the elected board members, you have the superintendent, who by statute is officially the chief executive officer, the CEO of the district. And it's the administration who has responsibility for those day-to-day district operations. And so again, that's kind of redundant here. The district, the administration for the day-to-day activities and operations of the district, whereas the board really concentrates on the vision, policy, goal setting. Budget's obviously another important aspect of that, rather than being involved in the day-to-day activities. All right, and then I excerpted just a few bullet points from one of your bylaws. So your bylaws are in what we call the 9,000 series in the policy manual. And in 9271, there are a few important ones that I think are important just as a refresher for everybody. But again, just as I mentioned before, you act as an agent of the state to enforce the rules and laws of the state and the district. You recognize that the responsibility and role of the board is not to quote unquote run the schools. And this is directly from your own policies through the administration, but rather with fellow board members to see that they're well run through effective policies. So again, that reiteration of the policy decision making as opposed to the operational piece of that. If there are complaints that you receive, and you guys again are elected officials, and so you'll be stopped at supermarkets and in the community, and people are going to want to share their thoughts, both positive and maybe constructive feedback. And knowing that when that happens, having some ideas how to respond to that and direct people to the proper chain of command. Okay, so you guys are not going to be able to solve all of the whether the bus is late or whether the school lunches are good or not at your individual levels, but you can encourage your constituents and community members to refer to the principal or the central office, and those are the people who handle those things. Same thing with complaints about teachers or about other students, things like there are defined processes, both in state law and your policies, of how those have to be handled. And an individual board member can't resolve all of those. And in many cases, the board as a whole can't resolve all of those if they relate to students and personnel matters. So having some ideas about how to respectfully acknowledge that a constituent or community member might have a concern, but point them in that direction about where they can go to address that is going to be helpful piece. There are a number of things that will be confidential in your role as a Board of Ed member. And so you want to be mindful of that, and that might be something related to the students. It could be certain information about personnel in certain circumstances. It could be information from executive session, and so that's important to make sure that you're holding in confidence anything that should be confidential. And so that happens actually a couple of different times in your bylaw there. So just a good refresher for that aspect. Okay. And the other thing that we get a lot of questions about is the board's role in terms of employment. You just voted on a new teacher's contract, so that's certainly one example of that. There are a few other instances, but by and large, the only employee that the Board of Education oversees and supervises and evaluates is a superintendent. Okay, so the responsibility for one employee, in addition to budgeting and policy making, one of the most important jobs of the Board of Education is hiring the superintendent, right? So that's kind of like a trifecta. And that's the one employee that you oversee and supervise. The superintendent, in turn, with her, again, designees through the administrative structure, is then responsible for evaluating all the other reports. Okay, so that's important to keep in mind. And in addition to other duties, again, circling back to confidentiality, and there we do have a couple of items. There's one item anticipated for executive session tonight. All matters that are discussed in executive session are confidential. So we're going to get into the Freedom of Information Act a little bit, time permitting here. But state law generally presumes that all business and meetings of the Board of Education is really held in public. There are exceptions for certain categories to go into executive session. And when that's the case, it's very important that information, again, is held in confidence. The other big piece, in addition to executive session, is that student confidentiality part. Okay, that's governed by a federal law, the Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act, or FERPA. And that really dictates that all information is person identifiable to students and record to schools is confidential, except for a few exceptions. One of them being if a school official has legitimate educational interest in that information. And so that will come up from time to time, and you'll see a slide on that. But that's really the only time when a board member would, legitimately have access to information about specific students. And that doesn't mean when a kid comes up here and do all those great presentations and they say their name and you ask them questions, things like that. But things about grades and discipline and special education needs, all those types of things, those are confidential. And there are certain roles that you might have to play in your role as a board member with student discipline, with the residency issues, with transportation issues, in order to fulfill your statutory jobs. That's when you would have that legitimate educational interest in that information. Otherwise, that's an administrative function. Okay. So that's an important piece too, because again, that's a federal law that requires that information to be confidential. Okay. Like we talked about before, and again, this comes right from your own bylaws here. Just again, being mindful and aware of how to refer complaints that you might receive, either again, stopping in the grocery store, or you might get an email, how to refer those to the administration for appropriate action. That's a big one. If you haven't already, and many of you are veterans and some of you are newer board members, will receive those emails and communications from community members, and really understanding the proper avenue from which to direct them. My recommendation is to, if it's a school level issue, acknowledge receipt, right? You want to be polite if you receive something, and just suggest that they contact the building principal. If it's more of a central office like matter or complaint or issue, again, you can be polite. Thank you for your email. Recommend that you please contact the superintendent, or you might even forward the email directly to the superintendent. And then she can decide whether to then refer that off to another member of the administration. Okay. Like I said, there are a few instances in which you guys will sit in a capacity that's different than just budgeting and policy making and your various things that you typically do at board meetings. And these don't happen too often, thankfully. In certain circumstances, when it's necessary to that the superintendent recommends separating with a teacher. That's a hearing process that teacher would be entitled to. If their contract is being non-renewed or terminated, they would have the right to potentially have a hearing in front of the Board of Education. Similarly, in different circumstances, if a student misconduct matter rise to the level where the superintendent is recommending expulsion, the student has a right to, or her family has a right to an expulsion hearing, either before a Board of Education or a hearing officer. So boards in different districts handle that differently. And in certain what we call school accommodations hearings, and that's transportation, residency, things like that, families also have the ability to request a hearing before the Board of Education. When you serve in these roles, it's very important for due process reasons, meaning those individuals who are requesting the hearing have a right to an impartial adjudicator. You guys serve as essentially the judge and jury for these particular matters. And so that's why we have to kind of stay in our lanes, for lack of a better term, on these student matters, on personnel matters, because the administration handles it all the way up until the point where the administration may need you to serve in those roles. And if you have been involved directly or indirectly in those matters, you're going to conflict yourself out, because being privy to certain information before that due process hearing happens creates a legal issue. And so we might need you, is what I'm trying to say. And so let the administration do their piece. And then if we need you in a different type of setting there, then you can act as an impartial adjudicator and make your decision based on that information at those hearings, rather than information that you may have received before or from one side or the other. Because that's an important piece too. Fortunately, those don't happen too often. Again, I kind of hit on those, that part of that due process is making sure that everybody's impartial, and that it's just those decisions that you might make are based only on the evidence presented to that hearing. And so that's why, again, board members should be framed in getting into the factual details, either before or outside of those hearing processes. Okay. Again, just another excerpt from your bylaw, this one 9130. You had a discussion earlier about committee assignments and requests for committees. Just a reminder, and District 13 is pretty good about this, that committees, just like the board as a whole, are also subject to the Freedom of Information Act. So posting your agendas ahead of time that we're going to talk about, having minutes available, having open to the public, unless there's an executive session category. That also applies to other board committees in addition to the committee as a whole. All right, so we're going to dive in a little bit of the FOI, because that's such a big part of what you do here. So many of you are probably familiar in some regard with Connecticut's Freedom of Information Act, or FOIA. And the overall kind of idea is that the public has a right to see what you guys do and how you make your decisions and the discussions that you have coming to those decisions. So that we start with that general public policy. And therefore, public agencies, and the Board of Education is a public agency, just like one of its committees is. The public agencies have to conduct their business in public. Again, that's one of those exceptions apply for executive session. And those records are subject to disclosure, again, unless there's an exception to that. So not only are you point one is you have to have your meetings in public and open. And two is the records that are created by the district, including the Board of Education, are generally going to be subject to disclosure, even if they're not part of your board meeting. So that's an important piece as well. And so we get the natural question, well, what is a meeting under the Freedom of Information Act? And it's a convening or assembly of a quorum of a multi-member public agency like the Board of Ed. So as soon as you guys have a quorum and you are discussing board business, that is a meeting. And hopefully, if we're following the rules, you are doing that in public and the time and location where you had a previously posted agenda said that you're going to be having that discussion. And so what's important here is not only, yes, it's a quorum, but it's communication by or to a quorum. So what we want to avoid is having an inadvertent meeting where we we don't intend to, by communicating either in person or electronically. That includes emails, that includes texts, whether it's your district email or whether it's your personal email. As soon as there is discussion by a quorum, and that's, reply alls, all those text chains, then that's a meeting. If you didn't post it, if the public wasn't available to be part of that discussion, then you're going to have a problem under the FOI. And so it's very important to make sure that when you're communicating, not just here, but through email, and again, I'll say it, but no one's gonna do it. I caution against the text messages because those can be public records. If there's enough of you texting and weighing in on something, that creates a meeting. And so just be mindful of that, because that could create a problem under the Freedom of Information Act. Okay. What else we have?
Sorry.
No,
I'm trying to, I apologize. I was notifying our hearing person that when we're
Okay.
gonna start.
And how are we doing for time? You want to?
No, we're perfect.
Wrap up?
Yeah.
Okay.
No,
All right.
perfect. Right on time.
So a few exceptions to what a meeting is. So it's, you guys may have had some recent experience on this. A personnel search committee for an executive level candidate, like a superintendent. The board can appoint people and often appoints itself to that personnel search committee. That's not considered a meeting because you want to be able to review packets and candidates and have confidential interviews before you're ready to make a recommendation to the board as a whole. So that is an exception. If you see each other at a party or the Durham Fair or something like that, you don't have to look away and not make any pleasantries. Of course, you can say hello and any social meeting. As long as you're not talking about board business, then you're good. Even if there's 6 of you who happen to run into each other at a community event or the concert or what have you. Don't talk about what the policy is on the policy agenda for the upcoming meeting. But you can certainly have social conversations and discussions with people. Collective bargaining negotiations, those are exempt, so we can have our private negotiations and strategy sessions not in public, so that's an exception to the meeting. A caucus of members of a single political party, and that's not considered a meeting. And then administrative staff meetings are not considered. So those are some of the most common exceptions. In terms of board meetings, there are 3 different types. There's your regular meeting, special meeting, and emergency meeting. And I'll run through those quickly. Okay, your regular meetings are those that, and some of you have been on here for a while, probably know this, and again, this might be new for some of you, even though you guys are on a July to June fiscal year under the Freedom of Information Act, your annual schedule of meetings are filed with town clerks by January 31st of a given year. And so that's why if you look on your website, it's by calendar year, the agendas, rather than the fiscal year like everything else is. It's just kind of an oddity because school districts are on July to June. But those are the meetings where they're regularly scheduled in advance on your meeting, again, schedule that's filed with the 2 town clerks in the beginning of the year. Those meetings, the agenda has to be posted at least 24 hours in advance. The minutes have to be available for inspection within 7 days. And unique to regular meetings, new business can be added to the agenda by 2/3 votes. That's the only type of meeting that you could add potentially an agenda item by 2/3 votes. Okay. So those are most common, but it's also fairly common for districts to need to schedule special meetings. So that's the next slide here. Special meetings are essentially the same idea with 24 hours notice for the agenda. It's something that's not included on that annual list or schedule that you file with the town clerks. And the minutes again have to be available for inspection within 7 days. But for a special meeting, the business is limited to the agenda items on that agenda when it's developed. So you post your agenda at least 24 hours, you're bound by that agenda for a special meeting. No adding items there. Okay. And then emergency meetings, I'm just gonna, it's a very high bar to qualify for an emergency meeting. It can be called an emergency without advance notice, without that 24-hour agenda rule. It's limited to matters that are truly emergencies. You have to have the minutes, setting forth the nature of that emergency and then file the minutes, even quicker within 72 hours. I'll just say that it's the rare occasion where that would be permissible. There's very few things that couldn't wait 24 hours to put an agenda up ahead of time. And the Freedom of Information Commission, like I noted here, very strictly interprets that provision very strictly. So don't jump to an emergency meeting. Stick to your special meetings when you need to conduct business that wasn't on your regular meeting list. Okay. For agendas, again, refresher for some of you, but this is very important because the Freedom of Information Act, or excuse me, Freedom of Information Commission, does take a, when there's a complaint, will adhere to this. Agenda items have to be sufficient enough to provide reasonable notice to the public concerning what business will be transacted. So you can certainly have categories such as old business and new business, but you can't just have those categories without some kind of additional information as to what you guys might discuss. And so your agenda, good example of that. You have your old business, your new business, but you have, bullets or sub bullets underneath saying what the actual agenda item is. So that's fine. But you can't just say like, new business, and and whatever anybody wants to raise as new business. Doesn't work that way, okay? Because the public has to be apprised ahead of time. They might want to comment, give public comment. They might want to hear what you guys have to say. And if they don't have the topics, then you're going to get an FOI violation. For executive session, for example, if you are going to discuss a personnel matter, you just can't say personnel matters. You have to give some kind of information about what it is, maybe discussing a personal matter relating to a teacher's request for leave or something like that. You don't have to get into the confidential details, and you should not get into the confidential details. But the Freedom of Information Commission has held repeatedly that just saying we're going into executive session to discuss personnel matters is an issue. There's some other exception, here, pending claims and litigation and things like that. Again, you don't have to get into the nitty-gritty details, and you should not, but you have to give some kind of, pending claim by the XYZ union against the district or something like that. Just give some kind of information about what that litigation you're putting in. Okay. Executive session, reminder that required a 2/3 vote. So that should be recorded in the minutes. Not only what you're going to be discussing but also the actual vote to go into executive session. It should be clear, again, that's the reason. So kind of matching that agenda. When you make your motion, the motion should be kind of mirroring what that agenda item is, not just saying I make a motion to go into executive session. Again, because that's going to be your official record, there should be record and reason why you're going to executive session. Just a few examples that come up more commonly for executive session. Discuss the appointment, employment, performance, or evaluation of a public employee. So that is a permissible executive session category. That doesn't mean that you go in to talk about just any old employee at any given time. There usually be a reason for that. Again, they're requesting maybe some type of leave, or there's some type of issue about their employment that we might be reviewing. Pending claims and litigation, again, security strategy, right? Obviously in this day and age, security and safety is very important. And so for obvious reasons, you might be privy to certain security strategies that would not want to be made public for obvious reasons. Real estate matters, right? If a district was looking to purchase or sell real estate, for market advantage reasons, you don't want that information to get out, which could affect the sale going one direction or the other. And then other confidential records, like student records and things like that. Okay. Another note, and I'm gonna say this as long as you'll electronic communications, and that includes emails, like I said, texts, Snapchats, whatever, Facebook Messenger things, whatever. Those have implications on both ends of the Freedom of Information Act. The first is, again, if it reaches a quorum, that discussion, that could constitute an illegal meeting. But secondly, and everybody should be aware of this, is that even if you don't reach a quorum to have an illegal meeting, just communications by themselves about a board-related issue, which is a very broad category, is considered a public record under the Freedom of Information Act and subject to an FOI request. Okay, so just always be mindful of what you're putting in writing. And even if it is not going to be in a legal meeting because there's not 6 of you talking about it, anybody can come, and request public records. And so just be, again, mindful of that as you're choosing how or whether to communicate electronically. That's not to say like don't communicate. With electronic communications, unilateral, Sydney kind of sends out, here's my superintendent packet, for the board meeting. That's not a legal meeting, even though it's going to all attend, because it's not a discussion back and forth by a core. Bob sends out something, we're gonna have a special meeting, next Tuesday at 7. That's not an illegal meeting. So it's not saying don't communicate. It's just be very careful, or I should say, don't use the reply all function of your email. Pick up the phone, ask a question from Sydney, pick up the phone, ask a question of Bob, and just be mindful of that. It's because it's when that communication becomes interactive, where it's potentially gonna generate responses and involving a quorum that you could unintentionally trigger an illegal meeting. All right. So I'm gonna pause there. The remainder are just various scenarios, and I'm happy to walk through any of them. They kind of articulate, certain topics here, but again, mindful of the rest of your agenda and your time. I just want to see if you guys have any questions, and if you want to forego the scenarios, I'll defer to you all.
I only have one question.
Please.
Scenarios, because I feel like it is the one that probably happens most often of there's some type of school disciplinary thing that someone's not happy about. And like it actually happened to me recently. I was at a game for my kids and they were like, oh, did you hear about this? And I was like, I don't want to get involved in student discipline, not my role. And then I always worry about if it would ever lead to like an expulsion hearing, then I feel like I'm biased and,
All right, well, let's, can you go to the next slide?
It's like helpful. They're all helpful. But I think that's the one that comes up most often.
So we have a scenario here. Parents all over social media after a daughter suspended I should say, for vaping nicotine in school 2 days before high school dance. Parents livid that their daughter won't be able to attend the dance. The parent calls Betty, board member, complaining that the principal overreacted and pleading for the board, you all, to correct this injustice. Benny board member calls the superintendent and asks for a meeting involving Benny board member, the superintendent, the principal, the parent, to discuss the student suspension. So I'll spare you with is this wrong? What is wrong about that scenario? What could be problematic?
Well, I feel like Benny board member, I think you could have went with Taylor Swift or like another creative name.
Okay, fair enough. Lawyers are known for their creativity. Yeah, point well taken.
I feel like asking like the superintendent, be like, hey, I heard this, like, let's do this together. Like, I don't feel like that's our role. Like it should go through the chain of command.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's exactly, first of all, you guys legally won't be able to be privy to the facts about a suspension, because the only role that you might have, or hearing officer, depending on how the district does it, is if the superintendent's recommending an expulsion. Because that's that legitimate educational interest in the education records. Absent that, it would be a violation for the superintendent or principal to kind of even explain further about what really happened, because that's private to that particular student and that family. So that's one issue. But to your point, if that was going to bubble up, maybe this a student is making poor choices, and not only did it that time, but she did it a second and a third time and a fourth time, and Sydney has no other recourse but to bring it to you guys as a record, having had that interaction with a parent about the facts at that lower level might conflict you out of hearing the expulsion hearing at the board level. And so that's really is the administrative function versus the board function there. So again, having those kind of just responses or talking points in your head or your back pocket, acknowledging frustration and saying, really encourage you to reach out to the superintendent. I, as a board member, can't help you with this. That's okay. And you're doing the board a service by staying within those boundaries, because when we stray outside those boundaries, that's when it gets very complicated and
It's
problematic.
hard to do that.
Yeah,
That's a hard part of the job.
Definitely is.
because you guys ran for these positions, right, to be problem solvers and helpers in the community and better the districts and lead it better than when you found it. And so I think your natural inclination is like, how can I help solve this problem?
Yeah.
There are ways to do that. And then there are ways that you gotta just defer to the administration. Your job is to hire the superintendent, make sure that she's hiring good people to handle all these other things. Because again, we might need you guys in those other certain roles. So that's a good question and a good example.
Thank you.
No problem. Any other questions? You guys?
Peter, thank you.
All right.
I think, you brought up the issue of seeing constituents in like a supermarket.
Yeah.
The Middletown Aldi is notorious for a weekend morning,
Yeah.
like for Middlefield residents, so. It's not inappropriate to offer your opinion, but you do on a particular subject.
Yeah.
And again, we have the issues, there's no question, people have very hot button issues and we've all taken a sword for that. But what happens is people perceive that your opinion is the opinion of the board. So I state very clearly, this is my opinion. It is not representative of the board. And that needs to be very clear because people sometimes have the presumption that when you say something, this is what we all agree on.
Official
It's just-
position or something like that.
So, I mean, that's the correct course of action to go.
That's a
This is
great
not the
idea.
opinion.
Yeah.
You can offer your own opinion, but not representative of the entire board.
Yes, you guys are all, in addition to being board members, are citizens with opinions. You can have your opinions, you can share your opinions. And so that's a good idea to kind of, have a little disclaimer or disclosure that, this is my personal opinion or my opinion as one board member, not the board. I do just caution people with the social media, right? Because sometimes that disclaimer isn't as apparent. And so that raises a whole, host of issues. And then just be mindful of, your board bylaws about the spokespeople of the district, which I believe I couldn't review it, before here. It's usually the superintendent and the board chair. They speak on behalf of the board, usually after board action, and the superintendent may have some discretion to make obviously comments on administrative matters. But yeah, so when you're providing your own opinion, that's not the official channel. I would agree with you about making that very clear that that's your opinion as a board member to avoid confusion. Absolutely. All right.
Thank you, Peter.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And we are just 4 minutes over, so your timing was awesome.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, for a lawyer to be succinct.
But Peter, you're gonna stay with us for
Yes,
the
I-
hearing, right?
Yep.
Okay.
And then,
We are gonna go into the executive session.
Yeah.
We're gonna do it here if everybody would leave.
Yeah, we need to just vote to go in now.
yeah, this is using motion to go into executive session.
Yeah, I would like to use, take a break for,
Are you gonna take a break now or come back and do it?
I would just like to use the restroom.
By all means.
Full
Anybody
disclosure.
else?
Go back, I'll prepare a motion for you for when you guys come back.
Me too, not the mentor.
Well.
I'm gonna-
You have a-
I'm just gonna do So
And then you'll just have to come.
We are
back and
ready to
open
go.
this Soon up for the board.
again, yeah. Mhm. We're ready.
You wanna read the motion, or you wanna tell the people they can't be here?
Well, we just, to vote to go into executive session is all public.
I move that the board enter an executive session to discuss a confidential student transportation matter. The board invites the superintendent, Dr. Sidney Leggett, board council Peter Marr, and the parent of the student to the executive session.
So move. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We're now going into executive session.
Okay, we're gonna pause the recording, just for anybody who's still at home. We're gonna stop recording while we go into executive session. Okay, we're recording again.
Okay, it's 9:24. The motion moved that based on the evidence introduced during the transportation hearing dated 12/10/25 by the board, that the board affirms the administration's determination that the transportation provided to the student complies with the board's transportation policy, and move further that the board chair be authorized to issue a written decision setting forth the basis of this board's decision. We need a second.
Second.
Any further comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Now, I think we have a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
I know this is long, but they're gonna see
Sometimes they're,
only 2 hours.
sometimes they're.
We got a little bit.
They're back.
Yeah.
Yeah.